The story began during the student council presidential election, where the protagonist, Izumi, was competing against another candidate named Sakura, waiting to deliver his speech after hers. He deemed her nearly impossible to defeat, not only because she was the star student of the school, but also because she was flashing him those rice cakes and distracting him. Soon, Sakura finished her speech, and Izumi climbed the podium, promising that if elected president, he would abolish the school regulation that banned relationships between guys and ladies. This instantly won the students over, and Izumi was elected as the student council president. The next day, he was to have his first meeting with the school staff to discuss the reform of the school regulations, but was already late to the meeting and got an earful from Sakura, who was now his vice president. Ayumi, who was the accountant, and the secretary named Kasuga. They were interrupted by the head of the Public Morals Committee, a girl named Mikaru, who had a personal beef with Sakura, as they were both academic competitors and had come to gloat at Izumi's unrealistic promise to the students, because no way on earth would the school legalize dating. In the conference room, the staff members were all opposed to Izumi's idea of transforming the school into Tinder 2.0. Izumi demanded justice for the students' romantic lives. But his hot teacher, Kurizaki, believed both Izumi and his deputy were single and inexperienced, which was a sign that it was too early for them to date. But shockingly, Sakura got up and declared that she had a boyfriend, and that the school should permit them to create healthy relationships because they could. She also felt that if they stopped the students from dating, then they would lack sufficient dating experience when they got older. For that reason, Kurizaki asked Sakura to provide proof that she actually had a boyfriend, and that if she did, the school would consider permitting relationships while monitoring if she could successfully maintain a relationship with her partner. After the meeting, the student council members were relieved that Sakura had come to their aid, but were shocked to find out that Sakura had lied about her relationship status, and only said so to get back at Miss Kurizaki, who was steadily receiving backshots from her male colleagues. The students brainstormed and decided that Izumi should become Sakura's makeshift boyfriend. Izumi, on the other hand, was unwilling to do this because he was inexperienced and didn't want his lewdness to stain Sakura's perfect reputation. But Sakura was willing to go above and beyond for the students, so she told Izumi to quit yapping and have some faith in himself for their plan to work. After they agreed to date, the next problem was for the students to find a way to convince the lecturers that Sakura and Izumi were indeed dating. Before the meeting with the teacher, the secretary suggested something they could do when they appeared before Miss Kurizaki, who initially claimed she wouldn't fall for their lies until she noticed that they were both holding hands. 3 days earlier, Izumi and Sakura had been forced by their friends to learn how to hold their hands and had soon mastered this art to seem like lovers. But this didn't convince Miss Kurizaki any more than a virgin saying he was experienced, so she said that anyone could have attained that hand-holding within a few days of practice. And she also said that being defined as lovers entailed something deep and more intimate, because if they were indeed dating, Izumi would have wanted to hold Sakura in more interesting places than just her ugly hand. Sakura boldly proclaimed that their relationship had attained the point where Izumi could reach out and hold on to whatever he wanted. Both Sakura and Izumi deliberated because they hadn't practiced this part of their fake relationship. Sakura assumed that Izumi would only want to kiss her, but deep down, Izumi knew that the only place he was interested in touching, whether with his hands or lips, was right there dangling in her shirt. He grabbed her jugs, showing Miss Kurizaki that such a level of physical contact was only natural between himself and Sakura, because they were really going out. Nearly convinced, the teacher said that they should not turn into simply lovers but maintain their relationship and see her again at the end of the term so she could assess their development, because a relationship that lasted for only a short period was a waste. And if that turned out to be their case, she wouldn't permit relationships between ladies and men in the school. Until the end, Izumi just kept holding on tight and making Sakura want to almost pass out from sheer pleasure. But the moment they stepped outside, she gave him a permanent mark on his face with a slap, and that was his first lesson in love. Later in class, Sakura was flushed, following what had happened at Miss Kurisaki's office, and this made her wonder whether it was normal for couples to jump kissing and head straight to touchy stuff. Ayumi told her that she was probably too charming for Izumi to resist, and since he was a growing man, he had all sorts of fantasies. It was then that it occurred to Sakura that she had never considered what she looked like in the eyes of men. Anyway, Ayumi reminded her that the goal was to fulfill Miss Kurisaki's requirements, and that Sakura should stop ignoring Izumi already. Really, Sakura was just ashamed of herself, wondering how to look at Izumi after losing her cool and slapping him in the face, and it was not quite certain whether he would easily get over something like that. On the other hand, Izumi wondered whether his touching Sakura like that could change him. But Kasuga told him that it was only normal for him to have such thoughts with Sakura's bombers all up in his face. From there, Izumi expressed that the feeling he had when needing them hadn't left his hands and had wiped all forms of common sense from his brain. However, Kasuga told him to come back to Earth and stop mistaking his imagination for reality. He then showed him a picture of Sakura in a swimsuit, proving that Sakura had many male fans. This made it clearer how frustrated the male students of their school were, given the stringent rules enforced by the school that prevented the young men from having an outlet to express their desires and passions. They attributed this to not only the school rules, but also the Morals Committee, which had recently been intensifying its activities under Mikaru's leadership. Kasuga considered Mikaru a heartless swine who gained more authority to become more cruel the moment she caught any young man breaking the rules. Izumi was horrified to hear this and asked to know the basis for being investigated and questioned by Mikaru. But Kasuga told him to calm down because he would give him the full details later. For one, it was better not to talk openly about the guys who whispered sweetly to female students behind Mikaru's back. And as far as unpopular guys like Izumi and Kasuga, even such a tiny amount of pleasure was being taken away from them. In any case, he needed Izumi to do something about it, and Izumi promised to fulfill his wishes. Later, Izumi was lost in his obsession over Sakura's thirst traps when she startled him with her sudden appearance after she had been looking for him. She apologized for hitting him earlier, and he also apologized for what he did. So they made up over some meal tickets that Sakura had found for both of them to share. Also, Sakura gave her approval for Izumi to use her pictures, even though he claimed he had no plans to use them. However, she said it was fine by her, and this made the guy wonder whether there were even more spicy pictures of her. He explained that he felt it was exciting for Sakura herself to approve him using her pictures, but she said it was all a boyfriend's privilege. Now that they were speaking of being boyfriend and girlfriend, Sakura asked Izumi if, in her bid to have some awareness of how male students perceived her, she would like to know if her melons excited him in any way. Before she was done talking, Izumi had already finished imagining all the possible things she could be doing to her, but she told him that they had required a lot of effort to get comfortable holding hands, and it was still too early for them to do the other things, even though they were dating. This made Izumi excited at the idea that there would one day be a day when he could go crazy and ravage those fruits. But right in the middle of their conversation, the sad, angry virgin Mikaru got upset and separated them, insisting that they maintain some distance between them. Sakura told her that she was mistaken, as they were only discussing arrangements for student council tasks, and that she was being excessive for calling them out for just sitting together on a wooden bench. Mikaru said that was exactly why she had to be such a hater, to prevent them from touching each other and inducing the feelings of love. She particularly confessed that she despised male students who could only think about nasty stuff, and even though Izumi, being one of them, was the student council president, she would make sure not to exempt him from her list of evildoers. With the way she had just warned him and knowing her powers of observation, Izumi only feared that Mikaru might have seen him holding hands with Sakura, and she would probably frisk him for evidence. And if she did frisk him, he couldn't let her get a hold of Sakura's naughty pictures that he was convulsing to. Perhaps that was already too late because the lady said that a male student who had been intimate with a girl would have evidence that could betray him, and she would uncover it. The next thing he knew, she reached out to him, and he feared that she was about to get Sakura's picture, but instead, the stupid girl placed her hand on the danger zone. She was disappointed to find nothing, all thanks to Sakura, who had managed to cool Izumi down with an argument. Sakura confronted Mikaru, asking her what on earth she was doing, while Izumi only wished the stupid girl hadn't pushed him face first into Sakura. He had already begun to get excited, and he knew he would soon get a standing ovation from his Mr. John. So, he wondered whether to pull her hand away first or to keep it there and leave him going crazy. It was already too late because Mikuru could already tell that he was stiff and that his true nature was that of a cultured goat. Boldly, Izumi repelled her argument by asking her if he was that way from the very beginning, but she said that it wasn't that way from the start. But now that it had become stiff, it still served as evidence that he had been with a girl. He asked her which girl had been touching him, and she claimed it was Sakura, but he argued that having his lower body as a man being touched by Miss Hiro herself for such a long time would definitely cause him to be embarrassingly stiff, and that was a normal thing for every guy. In conclusion, he asked for the backing of some fellow male students around who claimed the same thing would have happened to them. And so Izumi said that his stiffening was a result of Mikaru's hands lingering where they shouldn't have been. He then apologized for his ambiguous behavior that led her to make such a mistaken judgment, but the girl was already flushed, saying he shouldn't stand around with his bad boy high up in the air, making such an upright and frank speech at the same time. Drawing nearer to her face, he asked her if instead she would want to consider that the incident never occurred, and she agreed, huffing as she said she would only let him go that one time. Later, Mikuru went for lunch in the canteen and decided to eat by holding her chopsticks with her left hand, because she believed her right hand had been contaminated by Izumi's Peter Piper. But she soon started blushing, realizing that he could also have seen her not just as the head of the Morals Committee, but as a woman. Even though it excited her, Mikuru swore never to forgive Izumi for breaking through her defenses. As the student council went on in carrying out their activities, it was soon time not only for them to focus on banishing the anti-dating rule, but also to decide the coming year's club budget by inspecting every single club. Izumi visited the photography club, and their members felt he was too strict because Izumi suspected him of having an illegal source of income. He brought out Sakura's illegally obtained photos, which he suspected the photography club president may have been selling, among many others, but the guy seemed shocked to see those pictures at all. He even accused Izumi of disappointing his expectations, as he portrayed himself to be an innocent guy, only to turn out to be a demon as the student council president. Izumi retorted back at him, saying that as the student council committee president, he would pretend not to know that the photography club was selling improper pictures of ladies, because at least they were different from the Public Morals Committee. All of this was in exchange for the supporting votes of the photography club in abolishing the school regulation banning students from dating. However, the photography club president said it was an impossible demand to meet, because if that anti-dating rule were abolished and romantic relationships were made freely available, then the precious ladies being photographed in secret would be involved in romantic relationships with other men. If that happened, the value of the ladies' pictures would obviously depreciate, so he would certainly never agree to such. Izumi tried convincing the club president that the benefits of abolishing the law would outweigh its drawbacks, and that the depreciation of the ladies' photos was only a probability. But Kasuga said that he shouldn't bother himself by sticking with the minority, because the photography club lacked enough influence on the rest of the school. This triggered the photography club president, who verbally attacked Kasuga to prove that the photography club was on the front line of every form of photography for every club activity, and held great influence. He even said that Izumi understood the relevance of their club after enjoying the top-notch quality photos of Sakura in her one-piece suit, and that was why he came groveling for their club's support. Izumi agreed with him, and the club president even teased him, saying he would treat him to more pics of other ladies if he wanted. In fact, the highest in demand belonged to a gravure idol named Kasuga, who was also a model. Izumi realized that he had never appreciated how hot this girl was, because it was only recently that he started paying attention to ladies in his lifetime. But it seemed every other guy had their eyes on this girl, who was equally considered the hottest in their school. Unfortunately, no member of the photography club had managed to take a picture of Kasuga wearing a swimsuit. In the end, the only matter that brought Izumi there was to know whether the club president of the photography club would agree to vote in favor of abolishing the anti-dating school law. And so he agreed, saying they would bow to Izumi's demands, but only on one condition, which was to have a picture of Sakura, and that was something he could only ask Izumi himself to carry out. This led Izumi into the land of endless fantasy, imagining the wildest photo shoot ever with Sakura, until the photo club president snapped him back to reality. Izumi point-blank said the club president was asking for too much because there was no way to take such photos casually. Even though they were in a relationship, there were limits to the things he could do. However, the club president said he could just take a photo of Sakura's normal look, and they would provide him with a digital camera. Izumi later nervously walked up to Sakura, trying to suggest the idea of taking a photo of her, but he soon chickened out and decided to take a picture in secret. He was still contemplating this when Kasuga asked him why he was still worrying about that, because he could simply take the photo completely unconsciously by saying he was trying to record the activities of the student council, and then he would take some with him together with some of the council members. Izumi considered this genius advice, but the problem now was whether Izumi knew how to use the camera. The idiot said there was no need to worry about that, and he displayed his stupidity to Kasuga. In the process of his rehearsal, he accidentally took snapshots while Mikaru was in the frame, and she was offended, saying it was forbidden to bring cameras into the school. He explained that he had gotten it from the photo club, but she said there was no reason to believe the words of a cultured fool like himself. She reached out for the camera to confiscate it, but Izumi had no intention of letting her have it, and it became a struggle, which landed them in a compromising situation. When Kasuga walked in, he wondered why they were both hugging each other, but Mikaru soon became flushed, trying to explain that what he saw was just an accident. She couldn't believe that she had been caught doing the very thing she stood against in their school, so she got embarrassed and ran off. The guys both sighed relievingly that they had at least managed to save the camera from that witch's hands. Later, they reunited with the rest of the council members, and Kasuga suggested that since Izumi was interested in photography, they should take a photo together. They did take some photos, including some of Sakura, but Ayumi pointed out that she had noticed Izumi's strange behavior and had now realized that all the while, he had been trying to take a picture of just Sakura. She said that his wanting a photo of Sakura wasn't bad, since they had become lovers, because it was normal for partners to want pictures of the other. In the end, Izumi could not deny his desires and acknowledged that, indeed, he wanted a picture of Sakura. Although she was shy, she allowed him to take the pictures he wanted, and they turned out to be really good. Ayumi tried to tell Sakura to come and see her picture, but Sakura refused until she heard that there was a picture of the Public Morals Committee head, Mikaru. As all the ladies looked at the pictures, they noticed that there were very weird angles of the other ladies, and they couldn't believe that Izumi, who had painted himself as the Pope, was actually Diddy's disciple. Izumi desperately tried to salvage his prestige, explaining that he had borrowed the camera from the photography club, but there was little he could do to change their notion. Later, he met the president of the photography club and told him that since he was printing the original pictures, he should delete the original image files because he had to go through extreme lengths to clear up the misunderstanding. And actually, the picture that Sakura had allowed him to take was not one that Izumi was willing to share with anybody. The next thing, Izumi walked around with the feeling that someone was watching him, but he simply dismissed it as a consequence of his position as the student council president. He soon walked past some ladies in a heated argument who wanted him to intervene, but found out that Mikaru was involved, and soon regretted his decision to get involved. They both stared at each other with accusing looks, and it was obvious there was an unclear issue. The other girl who was fighting with Mikaru was the popular idol, Kasuga, and she told Izumi that she distinctly recalled hearing that the male students' dormitory forbade bringing in Cosmo magazines. Izumi affirmed this and said that she acknowledged the mistake of the Public Morals Committee, which had been going overboard lately, but for such matters, she could ask the student council for help at any time. Kasuga blushed at him and said he was right because they were now at the stage where they would notice dating and making up. Speaking to her, Izumi could barely keep his thoughts together, and things even became more awkward when Kasuga noted that she knew he was going out with Sakura, and which had to be one of the toughest things ever. She happened to know this by chance because she noticed him holding hands with Sakura and started investigating. It was this statement that made Izumi realize that the person who had been watching him lately was actually Kasuga. The model told him she believed that he was doing his best to make the students have freedom to love, but seeing all the extra things he had done made her disappointed, and she couldn't even believe a word he said. He then called her back, saying she should let him explain that because there was a bit of a situation behind it. What the doofus didn't know was that Kasuga herself had been called by Miss Kurosaki in a secret meeting to help break up his relationship with Sakura, and how she was going to do it was simply to indicate that she was interested in Izumi. But the problem she was dealing with was exactly how she should start because she wasn't quite familiar with him, and it would seem pretty weird for her to do that. Judging from the look he gave her, she knew Izumi was still just another boy thriving on hormones, so all she had to do was magnetize him. Meanwhile, Izumi was lost in thought, wondering how to clear up the misunderstanding that Kasuga had about him and was probably spreading around school. It was about telling her the truth. He was in the process of telling her the truth when Ayumi spotted him from a distance. He had actually shared with Kasuga that his relationship with Sakura was fake and that there was really nothing deep about it. He told Kasuga not to let anyone know about it because he was only letting her know because he trusted her. Somehow, the girl was enjoying this, but Ayumi was just pissed that Izumi would be sneaking out with such a baddie even while dating Sakura. The conversation between the two continued with Kasuga saying that his fake relationship with Sakura was certainly tough, since neither of them had enough knowledge or experience. And so, she offered to help him out by advising him to pretend that she was his girlfriend. Izumi thought this was weird because that would mean him fake dating her yet again, but Kasuga said that in her line of work, having relationships with guys was always prevented by the company, and the school regulations were also quite suitable for her for that reason. But she still felt school life was boring and wanted to partake more freely in the joys of love and have a more exciting school life. To her, it didn't matter if it was only for practice, because all she wanted in the end was more stimulation. Ayumi couldn't believe her ears and all the things this nasty model girl was saying to Izumi. But knowing that Izumi was being seduced, she wondered now what to do. Instantly, while Izumi was about to give his answer to Kasuga, Ayumi flung some books in his direction, saying he couldn't dare. In the process, she only ended up making him accidentally kiss Kasuga and Ayumi and all three of them, and Ayumi ran off awkwardly, calling him an idiot. Kasuga told him it was quite proactive of him to have kissed her so suddenly, but Izumi tried to explain that it was just an accident following the books that Ayumi had thrown in his direction. Anyway, Kasuga claimed that the kiss made her heart flutter, so Izumi was left wondering what to do. In the first place, he wondered if this could be considered cheating, and by virtue of his position as the president of the student council, it would be such a shame for the students to find out that their president was actually a simp with zero idea of self-control. Izumi wondered what to do, and suddenly decided to ask Kasuga what kind of resolve she thought he and Sakura had made to start dating. He reached for her bazookas, asking her if she had any idea how much chaos they were causing among guys, and that if she let him act out as her boyfriend, he would not only stop at grabbing them, but dealing with her in all the ways imaginable. Kasuga was taken by surprise, wondering how he had the audacity to mutter such things, and do it so boldly, and so she asked if Sakura permitted him to do such things. The idiot lied, saying he did rob Sakuras every day, and if they grew any bigger, it was all because Izumi was massaging them daily. Hearing this, Kasuga realized that perhaps they had gone all the way, and it was too late for her to meddle in their relationship, so she felt Izumi would find her useless since he was getting all he wanted from Sakura. With that, she pushed him away, after which he realized that he had been holding on to her goods for so long, but he was somewhat satisfied that he had made the girl give up on him. Much later, he returned to the student council, but saw that Kasuga was with the rest of them, claiming she had come to serve as a dating consultant. Kasuga said that he was aware that Izumi had to tell Kasuga about his situation with Sakura, and the best thing to do was to recruit Kasuga into the student council. The girl herself believed that ladies who were rich in romantic experience were precious resources in their school, and offering to help them was expected from Kasuga. Izumi drew Kasuga aside, asking her to give up already, but she asked to confirm whether, if she found the resolve to let him do as he pleased with her, he would agree to go out with her. Izumi tried to excuse himself from the situation, But it seemed Kasuga already had the right things to say and promised to keep their relationship a secret. They both returned to the rest, and Kasuga, with Izumi's arms locked in hers, told Sakura that she would now be mock-dating Izumi and would be in her care, while Kasuga herself would transform Izumi into an excellent boyfriend. In all of this, though, Ayumi was watching from the stands, saying she was certainly not going to be deceived by Kasuga's schemy ways. The next day, Ayumi went through Sakura's journal and advised her to share her journal with Izumi, because he might be excited to read it. She also suggested they should have an exchange journal, which would enable them both to tune into each other's thoughts and understand each other. Sakura wasn't eager to do this until Ayumi made her aware of Izumi's budding relationship with Kasuga. She warned that cheating was likely going to be the end of Sakura's relationship with Izumi, but Sakura felt there wasn't a possibility of the relationship going far with Kasuga's performing skills. But Ayumi let her know the possibility that Kasuga had been planted by Miss Kurizaki, and if Izumi fell for Kasuga's charms, then he could fall in love with her and his relationship with Sakura could end, threatening their collective goal of convincing the school to allow their relationship to thrive. Just when they were speaking, Kasuga appeared, looking for Izumi, but Ayumi told her to get the heck out if she was only there to cause trouble. Kasuga said she had only visited in her capacity as their relationship advisor, and then confronted Sakura for allowing Izumi to touch her every day. Ayumi retorted, saying it was perfectly normal for them to do so as a couple, and that they had even reached the highest point of physical affection, meaning they didn't need any dumb advice from Kasuga or whoever. Kasuga realized that she had underestimated the vice president, and so she went on to say that despite all the heights of affection Sakura and Izumi had reached, somehow Izumi was still yearning after her body like a thirsty man in the desert. And this also only meant that he was getting tired of Sakura's saggy pouches. It seemed Kasuga had said something quite triggering, making Sakura realize that no matter how many times she and Izumi had physical contact, if she still failed to make Izumi's heart flutter, she was failing as a fake girlfriend to attain that level of becoming a real one. Defiantly, Sakura said she could attain that level, and they would not progress with such a weak-willed attitude. And so Kasuga challenged her to a match where they would determine which one of them could make Izumi's heart beat faster. Coincidentally, Izumi walked in exhausted from visiting all the other clubs, and he was shocked to see the ladies in such a competitive stance. So he asked what was going on. Kasuga explained to him that there was a competition between herself and Sakura to see which one could make his heart beat faster, and that he should judge them fairly. Immediately, Kasuga latched on firmly to Izumi's abs, pressing her bare self directly against his shirt, saying she was trying to prove that Sakura had her limitations since the girl couldn't even initiate physical contact on her own. By the time Izumi knew it, his heart was beating fast already, and he knew he was messing up, especially in front of Sakura. Both Sakura and Ayumi were shocked to see them hug, and Ayumi advised Sakura that if she was going to stand a chance of winning over Kasuga, then she had to take things to the same level. Sakura admitted that, really, she had never gone beyond holding hands except for that incident, and so hugging him so tightly was weird. But almost as if Ayumi was not even listening, Ayumi suggested that Sakura should casually kiss Izumi. Obviously, Sakura knew this was way too bold, and so she was forced to put up with hugging a bit. Before she knew it, Ayumi slipped her hands into her shirt and undid Sakura's underwear, saying that she shouldn't forget that Kasuga, her opponent, was a model, and she had to fight against her with all her available weapons, meaning the twin bazookas she had. In the end, Sakura agreed, and Ayumi pushed Kasuga away from Izumi, saying it was now Sakura's turn. Although Izumi was in a fix, he was quite confident that Sakura didn't have the guts to take things as far as Kasuga did. But he was surprised when, to his utmost shock, Sakura pulled down her uniform, standing bare right in front of Izumi. Izumi was struggling through all sorts of mental processes, but Sakura hadn't even started yet. She went on to tell him that she had made up her mind to let him have his way with her every day. But the moment he reached out for hers, she instantly told him that he couldn't take them in that situation right away. In that period, Izumi was struggling not to because he could tell she wasn't wearing any underwear. Either way, she leaned closer into him and asked if it made his heart beat faster. The guy said that it did so because, for the past few days, he had been too busy to even hold hands. As things progressed, They both arrived at where they were at their limits and could go full throttle with each other. It was obvious that Izumi was lost in Sakura, and they were both traumatizing the poor ladies using their public display. In fact, Izumi's protrusion was more visible than ever. So at the time, both Kasuga and Ayumi had to tell them to step away from each other because they had gone too far. It was already too late because they both were really digging it at that point. In the end, it was awkward for everybody, and Sakura made it a personal mission to learn more about her body and the science of men. The next day, Kasuga was looking for Izumi only to be told that he and Sakura had undertaken an investigation on behalf of the students, after hearing that the empty club activity rooms were being occupied by delinquent students who were violating the rules. They also told her that the couple was using this as an opportunity to learn more about dating, but she was upset, saying it was her duty to teach them. Speaking of the couple, as they approached the unused club activity rooms, Izumi said he was quite nervous because there was no one around, and he was thinking of all the crazy things they could have done to each other. Sakura said she didn't want any of that because she knew his mind was only going to all the worst things, but he said he couldn't blame himself because of how pretty she was. They arrived at the door of an empty room that was said to only be used for storage, but it did seem that the room was being actively used, and whoever used it left some of those things behind. Just then, some senior dude opened a door, saying he recognized Izumi from somewhere but couldn't place a finger on it, but that Izumi could do as he pleased since the others hadn't arrived yet. Neither Izumi nor Sakura knew what the guy meant about doing as they pleased because they had only come to inspect, but the guy noticed their confusion and asked if it was their first time coming. He told them to absolutely never let the student council or the public morals committee find out about it, as the student council was responsible for taking care of unused club rooms, even though the current situation was still all thanks to their negligence. Izumi was pissed hearing the negligence word being mentioned, and he then argued that the student council for that year was striving for the liberalization of love. But the other guy said there was no way he could believe it because the student council clearly didn't understand the opposite gender. And all they were doing was pretend dating, because they seemed not to be aware that desire would float from deep within the body and human instinct could not be restricted by school regulations. Izumi had to play along with the guy because he didn't want him to find out that they were from the student council, as it would make him keep his guard up. The guy then told them that since it was their first time, it looked like they hadn't been going out for so long, and so he wanted to know how far they had gone physically. The question immediately startled both of them, and moments later, Izumi found himself having to demonstrate just how crude he could get in handling Sakura as her man. He had to show the guy their physical display of affection, just to prove that they were indeed going out, and the older guy made it clear that it was so obvious that Izumi's little guy was enjoying Sakura's show. He asked them if they had kissed before, and straight away, Izumi was ashamed as he remembered that he and Kasuga had accidentally kissed, but then he wondered whether Sakura would allow him to do the same. Just then, a girl named Tagawa, who was their classmate, rushed in to hug the big guy, forcing Izumi and Sakura to find some place to hide because she would instantly recognize them. Tagawa instantly got in and jumped right into physical activity with her guy, making it obvious that they were dating, but as they puckered up, it only made Izumi and Sakura more aware of each other and the fact that they had never really kissed. In fact, Sakura felt kissing was a no-no for her, and there was no way she would allow herself to be touching tongues with any stranger. While they were kissing, the big guy told Tagawa that two others had come before them, and the moment the girl turned, she was startled, wondering why the president and vice president were there. Obviously, things had been messed up for them, so they eventually tied them up. They tied Izumi up and held Sakura behind. Their plan to make sure that their place was kept secure was to take some pretty nasty photos of Sakura. Just then, they were joined by the rest of their comrades, and the big guy explained to the others that Sakura was quite a nasty girl who allowed guys to touch her freely as they liked, meaning the girl was far from being the perfect student she painted herself to be. Tagawa, at the same time, and revealing her items to the guys, making them all reach out. But seeing her begin to tear up made Izumi so mad, and he yelled out that no one should touch his girlfriend and they should keep their hands off. Eventually, in a bid to set himself free, he landed on the ground and was unconscious. When he woke up, he was in Sakura's lap resting, and she explained that Tagawa apologized for the misunderstanding, as everyone believed that they were secretly going out. Finally, she thanked Izumi for standing up for her in the way he did. Before they left, the big guy handed Izumi something in his hands, although he said it was too early for them to use it since they had yet to kiss. Also, Tagawa whispered in Sakura's ears that after kissing her guy, what was next was the baby-making exercise. Holding Sakura's hands, Izumi said it was time for them to leave and forget all they had just seen for the time being. When they returned to the student council room, Kasuga was shocked to see a rubber in Izumi's hands, which was handed over to him by the older guy who was Tagawa's boyfriend. Izumi himself had not realized that what was in his hands was a rubber, but Kasuga started accusing him of doing the abominable deed with Sakura. They also warned them that if the school saw them carrying such a thing, they would be expelled from the school. But in all of that, Sakura didn't even know what it was and called it a condominium. The next day, Sakura and her ladies were discussing the progression of her relationship with Izumi and how they had only gotten to a stage of hugging, which would not be impressive enough to show Miss Kurosaki at the end of the term. So they suggested that they advance to sharing a kiss, but Sakura said that such things were just impossible for her, and there was no way she could do it. In her heart, Kasuga realized that if Sakura and Izumi ever got to the stage of kissing, then it would make her own advantage disappear. So she chipped in, saying that it was just irrational of Sakura to go ahead and share a kiss with someone she didn't love, but had to go out with out of necessity. Frankly, Kasuga didn't even see how it was biologically possible for that to happen, so Sakura said that it wasn't impossible if they did find themselves in the right mood, and even if they were just pretending to date, something like that happening wouldn't be unnatural. This further frustrated Kasuga, who realized that Ayumi was out to prevent her from having a chance with Izumi, and she also felt they didn't understand the true meaning of love. She did say that the kind of dating that existed between Sakura and Izumi felt wrong, and the reason was that all the members of the student council were dormitory students who were forced to live under extremely strict rules, pretending to be monks. This was because they had definitely been living in the dorms since their early school days and didn't have the chance to understand the concept of being with the opposite gender. As a result of that, the system would yield a huge number of students who were unaffected by love. She told Sakura that the problem wasn't that Sakura didn't have anyone to love, but that she didn't have the opportunity to love. With this, everybody accepted Kasuga's theory, saying she did have a point. And seeing that her evil plans had been in effect, she continued saying that from the very start, there was something wrong with the fake dating. However, Sakura retorted, saying that the fact that she was inexperienced was a point she always acknowledged, which was why she was still learning about how to date and understand the male anatomy. Kasuga told her that this was beyond therapy hugging problems, and more about the fact that Sakura wasn't allowing her partner's feelings to progress, meaning they shouldn't even be dating in the first place. Sakura felt that building experience meant that her chances of love were increasing, but Kasuga asked her if she was dumb to think that she would simply be falling in love with Izumi simply because he massaged her glands. In fact, Kasuga suggested that perhaps Sakura and Izumi had gotten to a point where they were now in each other's private space. But this made Sakura so embarrassed that she outrightly declared that falling in love with Izumi for her was simply impossible. Just then, the guys walked in, and Kasuga told the ladies that some of the things they said had hurt Izumi. By then, it was already too late for them to take back their words, and Izumi walked out after hearing all the things Sakura had said. He tried to remind himself that it wasn't something for him to be offended about, that Sakura held no feelings towards him. But it was all because he had become calm and more sensitive towards the ladies around him ever since his election as the student council president. While he was moping, Kasuga turned up from behind, saying she was worried about him and wanted to know from what part he heard them. He mentioned that he had heard everything she said, right from the thing about the dormitory life. Kasuga said that she didn't really have any experience with love, but somehow could judge someone's superiority. Still, Izumi said he had some experience loving someone else because back then, in the early days of school, he had confessed his feelings to his crush. However, the girl got scared and transferred to another school. It was because of this that Izumi hadn't fallen in love with anyone else since this experience had made him stop having any expectations like that from other ladies, but also made him not take much notice. What others thought about him and his attitude towards love at that moment was just to make it his goal to liberalize love for the students. Hearing this, Kasuga felt sympathy for him, and they silently walked back inside. She hugged him from behind, asking him to let her stay like that for a while, but he told her that whenever he was with her, his heart started beating faster. She asked him why, but he said he didn't know. Before he knew it, she slipped her hand in his pants, saying that he had never really touched her, but was only doing such weird things with Sakura every day. That instant, Mikuru walked into the building, and Izumi was scared that he would get caught. Izumi tried to tell Kasuga that the Public Morals Committee would catch them, but she thought he was trying to fool her, and then told him that he should date her instead of Sakura, who didn't even like him. Because even before, she was taking the initiative, but now she wanted him to do the things he wanted to do with her. Soon enough, Izumi couldn't resist his urge and held Kasuga close to him, manhandling her the way she had asked him to. He sent 1,000 impulses down her spine, and she was feeling herself, thinking it was all thanks to her perfect model-like figure. But just then, she spotted Mikuru coming from downstairs, trying to find them. In order to prevent Mikuru from catching them, Kasuga put her martial arts skills into use and landed Izumi on the ground, telling Mikuru that Izumi was only assisting her with self-defense practice. This left Mikuru trying to inspect Izumi, but she noticed that he was stiff yet again. Meanwhile, Sakura and Izumi had returned to being extremely formal and struggled to hold a normal conversation. The atmosphere was affecting not only them but other council members as well, as they couldn't even suggest Kasuga and Sakura, and Izumi moving to the stage of kissing. In class, Izumi was preoccupied with thoughts of how he was failing in his role as president of the council, by not serving as a good role model for people to have relationships. When the end-of-term exam results were posted, Izumi found out that he had failed the exams for the first time in his life, and Miss Kurosaki said that if the president couldn't serve as a role model for the students, she would have to reconsider the question of permitting students to date. Following this, Ayumi suggested that Sakura, being the vice president, could help the situation, because since she was an excellent student, if Izumi studied together with her, then he would be able to make some progress. Izumi felt it was a bit too much, but Ayumi and Kasuga reminded him that if he failed to attain the required scores, then the meeting with Miss Kurosaki would be cancelled, and there would be no way for him to serve as a student council president who would be a role model for the students. And neither would he be able to fulfill what he had promised. Later, Sakura genuinely apologized to him for saying those hurtful words, but Kasuga told her that it wasn't her fault because Izumi's scores were always below average from the very onset. In any case, Ayumi told him to devote all his energy towards studying, and he accepted what she said. However, Sakura still felt that the reason for Izumi's failure in school was the hurtful words she said, and so she believed it was up to her to make up for that. Within a few days, Izumi studied hard under Sakura's tutelage, and the strategies for the makeup exams were flawless. But for some reason, it seemed Izumi hadn't learned anything at all, even though the makeup exam was in a day. Sakura said that he had learned everything but struggled to practically apply those things. So she told him that the only way for them to excel was to use the ultimate weapons, and as such, he should come to her room later that night. Everybody was stunned to hear her say this, and Kasuga was already sweating, saying Sakura couldn't bring a dude into the ladies' dorm. But Sakura said she was willing to take the risk because the outcome of the makeup exam would decide the future of the student council's activities, and for that reason, they had no other choice. Not to mention that Sakura felt responsible for Izumi's failure, and as she was only trying to fulfill her duty as the vice president to support the president. But Kasuga said that she would have to tag along. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous, and that it would be better for them to meet outside the ladies' dorm after dinner. In the evening, Kasuga put on a coat and a neck shawl on Izumi to disguise his masculine form. Since everyone was at the canteen, once they got past the supervisor's room, they would be able to breathe freely while having Sakura pick up his shoes. She hopped on his back and they dashed past the necessary checkpoints, eventually arriving at Sakura's room. However, Sakura wondered, why Kasuga brought him through the entrance hall instead of entering through the balcony. But the girl was apparently looking for some form of stimulating excitement. Just then, Kasuga started undressing right in front of Izumi, saying she was trying to get into something comfortable, and it wasn't like Izumi had an issue with her being in underwear. Now that he was in Sakura's room, she said she had a lot of examples for him to solve, and he could ask her to explain the parts he didn't understand. The ladies also reminded him that his primary reason for being there that night was to study and not imagine how many babies he could pump into both ladies at once, and so he decided he would do his best. But just then, some ladies in the dorm started banging on Sakura's door, asking her to tutor them for the makeup exams as well. She tried explaining that that time was a bit inconvenient, so Kasuga quickly dragged Izumi to hide under the sheets, and she hid there with him as well. Somehow, they had to stay in that awkward situation for 30 minutes while Sakura tutored the ladies. In that moment, Izumi was struggling with every form of self-control he was about to lose as he laid his hands on Kasuga's underwear. She didn't make matters easy when she brought herself bare, leaning directly against him, and the other ladies quickly spotted that the bedsheet had just moved. Sakura, who was fuming within but struggling to maintain her cool, told the ladies they were just imagining it, but the ladies insisted on pulling the sheets back and taking a look because they kept moving. Quickly, Kasuga revealed herself, saying she had just come to rest and learn from Sakura for a while. While she was talking to them, she was almost suffocating Izumi. But after a while, the ladies left, and Kasuga fell fast asleep. Izumi was squashed underneath her, so, with a glare on her face, Sakura asked Izumi if he was still ready to study. He stayed deep into the night studying, but Sakura soon fell asleep. He lifted her and placed her on the bed beside Kasuga, but she told him that even though he was temporarily her boyfriend, he had to do things the right way. The fool's mind imagined crazy things happening between him and the two ladies, but he returned to the present and reminded himself that he had to spend all his energy on studying. He thought about the meeting they would both have with Kurosaki and felt that if he could pull off a kiss, then their meeting would probably be easy. Sakura was fast asleep, and he drew his lips closer to hers, but chickened out at the last minute because he realized he hadn't considered her feelings before making such a move. What he didn't know was that Sakura was not fully asleep, and neither was Kasuga. A few days later, the makeup exam results were out and Izumi passed, all thanks to the study questions Sakura had given him to practice with. Ayumi asked him whether he had come up with a plan for the meeting with Kurosaki, but things were back to awkwardness between him and Sakura, as neither of them was prepared for the next phase. Eventually, they had the meeting with Ms. Kurosaki, but were struggling to prove how close they had gotten, so they tried an all-out embrace, which made her burst out laughing at them, saying it was pathetic of them to think that hugging was proof of their relationship's progression, because hugging wasn't only limited to lovers, and it seemed that hand-holding was the very best they could do. She said they could show off their determination by easily rubbing the right things, but if they objected to it, then she would question their common sense. While the two lovers argued among themselves, Miss Kurosaki was only hoping that Kasuga had done what she was expected to do. Earlier, she had met with Kasuga, who told her she had failed to do anything to the point of breaking them up, but at least their relationship had started to waver. Not to mention that they hadn't ever kissed, while Kasuga and Izumi had done so. It was a good point because if they disclosed this to Sakura, she would definitely be hurt, and the relationship would be over. But besides the kissing, Kasuga and Izumi had actually gone far enough to do fourth base level type of things. So they had enough weapons in their arsenal to shatter the relationship between Izumi and Sakura. Anyway, Izumi reminded the teacher that the original purpose of the meeting was to confirm whether they were actually going out. So all she had to do was approve their relationship. He also said their romantic relationships progressed at individual paces, and forcing them to do creepy things under a limited time was pretty weird coming from her. Besides, they both felt that having a platonic relationship was also fine, and there was nothing Miss Kurosaki could do about that. Izumi didn't notice at that time that his hands were resting on Sakura's pillows, and the teacher pointed that out, saying they sounded stupid talking about platonic love with her. When they both noticed what was going on, they were shy, but later, Sakura told Miss Kurizaki to stay on track and stop taking advantage of Izumi's physical condition, because he didn't want to force progress, but rather allow himself to slowly get used to the ladies. The teacher said that Sakura had said she wanted to gradually build up relationship experience while maintaining a sound and healthy relationship, and it was for that reason that the school permitted them to date. So, in the slightest possibility that they both didn't want to further their romantic relationship, it would seem as though they were taking the school's grace for granted. What they both didn't know was that Miss Kurizaki was about to deal them the final blow. She told them a girl was waiting outside who wanted to share something, and when she showed up, it turned out to be none other than Kasuga. Kasuga asked the teacher to pardon her for what she was about to request and began by confessing that she had been hiding a secret from Sakura all this time. The secret was that Kasuga and Izumi had been dating for a long time, but even Izumi seemed surprised at this sudden revelation, because he had only agreed to fake date Kasuga and didn't know she had taken things seriously. The teacher said she won't permit such a relationship, even for a special student like Kasuga, but Kasuga said it was unfair to treat her that way, given that she had gone as far as kissing Izumi in their fake relationship. The teacher feigned surprise at this confession, while Sakura was genuinely shocked, waiting to hear an explanation. Izumi pointed out that the so-called kiss was an accident, but Kasuga said it was heartless of him to call it her first kiss. An accident because she had never kissed anyone prior to him. In the end, Izumi had no better choice than to agree that he did kiss Kasuga, and Sakura, even though shocked and pissed, said there was nothing so special about lips servicing each other. However, Miss Kurizaki told her it was quite unfortunate that the dude Sakura fell in love with was someone who found it easy to cheat, and he was simply the personification of the lewd, lousy nature of the guys of their school. Unfortunately, even if he was obsessed with her body, it didn't turn that into an honest relationship, and it was unavoidable that he had to fall for an idol. Izumi was lost because all he wanted was somehow a way to maintain his relationship with Sakura. But now it had unwittingly turned into a relationship with Kasuga, even though it was quite a fake relationship. Also, it didn't help that he was now seen as an unfaithful man. So there had to be something wrong with Kasuga that she would want to go out with him in the first place. Now, Kasuga held the teacher to her word when she said that she would permit a relationship when they could at least kiss. And so, the teacher agreed to acknowledge their relationship. Kasuga said that it seemed Sakura absolutely couldn't bring herself to kiss Izumi, meaning it was a relationship that lacked such a level of determination. The teacher said she sympathized with Sakura, who would certainly be feeling jealous and rejected, but she would advise the girl to put her mind to other things. And if she decided she would grow from that experience, to Miss Kurizaki's shock, Sakura turned and kissed Izumi deeply and then turned to ask if she had successfully resolved the matter with that kiss. In that case, it meant they could continue dating, and it meant Miss Kurizaki would permit their relationship. She also told the teacher that if there were added conditions, she wanted them to fulfill in order to approve their relationship that even possibly went beyond kissing, then she could also inform them about it. As they turned to leave, the teacher was frustrated, and Kasuga said that even though it looked like they had lost that round, the moment she was in a serious mood, their victory would only be a matter of time now that the teacher had already acknowledged her relationship with Izumi. When they were out of sight, Izumi began to explain to Sakura that there was no way for him to refuse Kasuga's advances, and that he was forced to enter a fake relationship with Kasuga, so he would avoid exposing his fake relationship with Sakura. Sakura felt sad knowing that he had kissed Kasuga, but Izumi said that it was only an accident, as he had just happened to bump into the girl's face, and the kiss with Sakura was actually different. Just then, Kasuga showed up, demanding that he kiss her properly, but Sakura asked her just what she was up to and why she was playing the role of Miss Kurisaki's mannequin. The girl told them to both stop blaming her and she wouldn't have gotten involved, and their relationship would have been called off if she hadn't gotten involved. Besides, she was also the one who made Miss Kurisaki put forth the condition of acknowledging their relationship as long as they kissed, so they should be thanking her. This made Izumi wonder whether or not she was on Miss Kurisaki's side, but Kasuga confessed that in the beginning, she was intrigued and jealous of their fake relationship, so she was eager to break it up, but if their relationship was rejected, Then everyone would have to return to the boring school life, and so she changed her mind. To prove that she was no longer helping Miss Kurosaki, she told them that she would have simply told the woman that their relationship was fake from the start. Hearing this, Sakura asked her if she would then be on their side, helping them, but Kasuga reminded her that she was also acknowledged as being in a romantic relationship with Izumi. Sakura was in denial of this, and Kasuga walked over to Izumi, forcing a kiss onto his lips. Afterwards, she said that Izumi had been trying to keep their relationship a secret from Sakura, so now things were easier for all three of them, and that even though it was a fake relationship, they were now sharing a boyfriend, but only the heavens knew just how their relationship would end. Having witnessed this, Sakura's chest formed a knot, and she felt so much pain in her heart for the first time ever. Days later, a new teacher introduced herself as Fujisawa, the new club advisor who would be replacing the old one because she had fallen sick and was hospitalized. Ms. Fuji said she didn't intend to disturb the student council's work and was only an advisor in name, so they could go about doing things as usual. But if Izumi had any questions related to love, then he could certainly consult her. Obviously, she had Sakura and Kasuga to contend with, so she told them there was no need for them to be nervous. The creepy girl asked Izumi just what trick he had used to capture the hearts of the two ladies, and told him that she was on his side and he didn't have to be formal with her at all. When she left, every member of the student council was itching to hear what had happened during Izumi's meeting with Miss Kurosaki, and why they were hearing about a new triangle between him, Sakura, and Kasuga. And so he sat down and narrated the whole thing to them, after which they claimed they didn't understand how he would now juggle between two ladies when it was already a struggle hiding his relationship with Sakura. They also pointed out that it seemed their new council advisor didn't have an idea that his relationship with Sakura and Izumi was fake. Speaking about juggling between two ladies, Izumi looked overwhelmed, and Sakura asked whether he was suffering from a cold or had a fever, but he said he was totally fine and only had to wash his face. But right after saying that, he passed out flat on the floor. Afterwards, Sakura and Kasuga dragged him to the infirmary and dropped him there, saying they would return for him after lectures. Kasuga told Sakura to leave her duties for the day in his hands, but she protested, saying it wasn't nice for both the president and the vice president to be absent. He, however, told the dumb girl to use her brain and realized that he was doing things for her sake, because it wouldn't make any sense for her to leave Izumi alone with Kasuga. She agreed to stay back but couldn't believe that she had done so and wondered whether something was wrong with her. She noticed that she hadn't even observed that something was wrong with Izumi, meaning she was lacking the qualifications to be a proper girlfriend. But the moment she went into the infirmary, she caught Kasuga lying, trying to revive that dead man to life with her fresh fruits of eternal life, saying she was trying to absorb the cold from him into her own body. She instantly dragged her away, telling her to put her clothes away right then, and later asking her what on earth she had planned out. In the first place, Sakura didn't understand why Kasuga also wanted a fake relationship with Izumi. And she said she only wanted to experience the publicity of having her fake relationship no longer hidden but known to everybody. Sakura asked her if she needed to kiss Izumi, but Kasuga said that it was all because of Sakura's indecisive attitude. That made her angry and left her with no other option. In any case, she said that even though they were fake girlfriends, Kasuga had made some good progress, as Izumi had touched her cushioned buttons with his tongue while in Sakura's bed. Sakura was stunned, but said that it only happened because Kasuga deliberately took her own clothes off and had forced herself on him. As such, that couldn't be considered progress, as there was no way to confirm what was going on under the sheets. This led to an argument between the ladies until their voices woke Izumi up, and they both asked him which one of them he preferred. It turned out he was only dreaming and just continued sleeping. The ladies wondered how to resolve their issues, and Kasuga admitted that seeing Sakura suddenly kiss Izumi made her look at her in a different light, because she had previously called her a love insulator who had lacked qualifications for love, but now she was taking everything back. Now seeing that Sakura was capable of at least trying, Kasuga also confessed that she felt the student council was made up of a group of late bloomers who had no interest in love. Until Izumi confessed that he had experienced love before with another girl. She then said that the events that happened back then were a mental shadow. But when Sakura asked her to explain it, she decided to start gatekeeping it, proud of herself for being the only one who knew what it meant. Anyway, Sakura asked her what she thought of Izumi, and Kasuga said that if it was because of the events that Izumi created a mental shadow and stopped trying to follow him, then she was going to try and cure him even though they were fake lovers by granting him everything he desired. Sakura reminded her that even if they were lovers, they were just fake and nothing more, and if there wasn't mutually sincere love, then Kasuga would have to behave properly. With that, Kasuga declared that Izumi sincerely loved her and that she liked Izumi. The moment she confessed this, for some reason, Izumi, through his sleep, confessed that he liked both their airbags very much and didn't mind being suffocated with them until he lost his breath. Instantly, both ladies punched him back to stupor, and that was his fate for that day. Meanwhile, in the students' counseling room, Miss Kurosaki was getting some from one of the male teachers, but he wasn't giving it to her like she wanted, so she threatened to kick him out. Dude found her to be irresistible and asked her why she seemed to be in a bad mood, but she told him to leave right away. He tried to kiss her, but she pushed him away, saying she didn't feel like it. And before he left, he said he would leave Kasuga for her to handle, and while handing over some documents, a visitor's pass and some things. Kurosaki asked whether the man was trying to dispose of Kasuga, but the man said that compared to an inexperienced brat like Kasuga, he preferred seasoned women like Kurosaki herself. With that, he started making a move on her, but she kicked him right in the middle and left him and his baby Jules trying to recover. Some days later, Kasuga was having a photo shoot, and the student council members were present to oversee the activities together. Sakura warned Izumi not to get as excited as he usually would be in such lewd situations, and to be aware of the thing between his legs. As the ladies were stretching, the council advisor explained that the setting of the photo shoot was to show the everyday activities of a swimming club, although Kasuga was the only one wearing a bikini. Izumi worried that the school's strictness might prevent their activities from flowing, but the advisor said she was in charge of the area and had already asked the guys from the swimming club to block off that area. She spotted some students from the distance and told them to get down at once, otherwise she'd get really angry. It turned out to be the photography club members and their president. The moment the teacher spotted them, she chased after them but accidentally stepped into the pool, dragging Sakura along, who was only trying to help her. Both ladies retreated from the water but were completely soaked, creating a rather stimulating scenario for Izumi. Izumi asked Sakura if she had spare uniforms or extra clothes to change into, so he could go get it, but the teacher said she would get it instead because Izumi, being Sakura's boyfriend, had to stay with her at that time and at such a point in time. Soon, everyone's attention was drawn to Izumi and Sakura, and Kasuga soon started getting jealous of them. In fact, some of the officials who had seen how hot Sakura looked soon started asking her to participate in the photo shoot, saying her face wouldn't be in the background. However, Miss Fuji told them that Sakura was a member of the student council and not a swimming club member, and so she needed her help in overseeing some of the activities. The man, surprisingly, asked that Miss Fuji participate in their photo shoot together, because they needed 2 more beautiful women to make the front cover of the magazine look better. Excitedly, Miss Fuji began to take off her clothes and said both she and Sakura couldn't turn down such an opportunity. The other girl said there were some swimsuits prepared and a portable heater the ladies could use to heat themselves up between the shoots. Much later, Kasuga snuck off to meet Izumi and dragged him to a corner, saying she needed his help with changing her clothes. She also said she wanted Izumi to be the first one to see her swimsuit and to help her tie the string behind her back. As he tried to do that, he struggled to control himself, and she buried his nostrils in her goodie bags. Smack in the middle of their fun, they overheard noises headed in their direction and realized someone was coming into the room. So Kasuga dragged Izumi into a locker and stayed close to both of them there. It turned out to be Sakura and Miss Fuji who had come to change into their swimsuits. But Kasuga warned Izumi not to stare in Sakura's direction because she was supposed to be the main character, and her perfect pose during the photo shoot was something she wanted her boyfriend to see. Izumi struggled and fought hard against his desire to look, so Kasuga soon started filling him up and eventually felt the mighty lump pressing against her stomach. She permitted him to keep doing her, and as they kept at it, Miss Fuji caught them. Instantly, Fuji shut the locker door back and said it was probably best that Sakura didn't look in that direction. Sakura glared at Izumi while Miss Fuji warned Izumi that if he wanted to be such a two-timer, he would have to learn how to handle things well, or else nothing would work out in the end. She also punished him by making him stay in the locker room and reflect on his cursed life until the photo shoot was over, while telling Sakura to hurry up and join them at the photo shoot. When they were alone, Sakura flashed him and he almost passed away from excitement. And in the end, the photo shoot was a success. The next day, Ayumi noticed that Kasuga was sticking to Izumi like glue, so she asked if they were going out and reminded Izumi that his original goal was to date Sakura, but instead, he had been getting too close to Kasuga for that to happen. Kasuga, on her own, said it wasn't that she was trying to hinder Izumi and Sakura's relationship, but was only seeing the essence of the problem through their interactions. In that case, Ayumi asked her to report what she found, and so Kasuga said that it was the barriers between both genders. She asked Sakura if the girl had any memories of talking to guys outside the student council, but Sakura said that it wasn't like she was avoiding guys intentionally, but that the Public Morals Committee always had their eyes on her every move. This was exactly what Kasuga was referring to, a mental barrier that was unconsciously constructed between guys and ladies, even though talking to each other was not against the school rules. As such, she insisted that the distance between guys and ladies had to be reduced no matter what, and it was up to the student council to take the initiative in bringing that about. She actually made sense a bit, saying that even if they won by making the school to allow dating to become legal, it would be quite weird for the students, given that they had unconscious barriers between both genders, and so the first step was to break down the barriers, and that was why Kasuga was unnecessarily clingy with Izumi. Not long afterwards, the reality of those barriers became true. One day, some guys who called themselves the fan club of Kasuga were discussing how they were obsessed with protecting her pure daily life, and so they all ganged up against Izumi, warning him to stop getting so close to her before it would be too late. Before he left, they handed him a picture of her in shorts, which they had struggled tooth and nail to get a hold of. They promised to do their best, but just then, Kasuga, while running, bumped into him and the other guys, who claimed they were an on-campus fan club consisting of 10 members who were supporting her from behind the scenes. From the bushes, Ayumi was peeking and observing everything that was happening, realizing that Kasuga was being so unnecessarily clingy to Izumi because of those guys who had obviously been charmed by her large goodie bags. Mikaru joined her in peeking, saying that the quality of women shouldn't be measured by the size of their goodie bags. And she seemed to be proud of Ayumi for being at least one member of the student council who was not yet cultured. Ayumi asked Mikaru why she wasn't jumping out to seize those twisted dudes, but she said it was usual to expect group actions to have a stronger effect than individual actions, although her plan was to observe them for a bit. Especially knowing that Izumi was a part of them, something was certainly going to happen and she would take him down then. On the other hand, Kasuga was confronting those dudes, asking them why they were sticking their noses in her business. But they innocently explained that she had just transferred into a strict school for reasons of her own protection, so they didn't want vermin such as Izumi to bother her, and that was why they were serving the role of her unofficial bouncers. She did think that was toxic, and the guys accepted that indeed they were toxic as long as they could protect her from the shadows, because that was what made their meaningless lives more meaningful. She, however, told them that protecting her from being in contact with guys was the job of her contract company, and that she wanted to live her life being even closer to guys. As she held the hands of one of those simps, he almost blasted his trousers, and the guys around all said that the idea of Kasuga they had in their hearts was a pure Virgin Mary who couldn't be so accessible, and even they shouldn't have the opportunity to touch her. She told them that such a level of physical contact was normal for modern-day models and idols, but the guys felt that her level of physical contact with Izumi was way more than was apparent. Instantly, the guys attacked them, asking them to explain things in more detail, and that was when both Izumi and Kasuga realized that the situation had gotten out of hand. One of the guys confronted Izumi, asking him just how far he had gone with Kasuga, and whether he had been using their close relationship as an excuse to force her into indecent activities. But Izumi felt that all the things he had done with Kasuga were consensual, and she was even the one initiating most of them. In any case, he told them that they had more work on their hands, as they had to investigate more into idols a bit more because they had special characteristics that led to some of their pictures fetching high prices. He said he had no problem with them turning into simps for their idols, whom they worshipped from the shadows, but nitpicking on Kasuga's personal matter was a different story entirely. And it was then he realized the severity of what Kasuga was saying in terms of the huge gap between the male and female genders in their school. To demonstrate his willingness to abolish that mental distance between both genders, he held Kasuga by her waist and shockingly drew her pants down, revealing her lace underwear. The guys were shocked beyond words, almost passing out at the sight of what they saw. But one wrong move and Izumi's face was about to be traumatized in the good way. Accidentally, Kasuga almost tripped and fell, and at that point Mikuru had already seen enough to lose her cool, telling them to break away from that obscenity. Already, Kasuga's peaches were suffocating him, and she was begging him not to move before everything in her would break loose. The next day, Izumi was yet again feeling guilty, and hoping that Kasuga would forgive him for revealing her underwear and burying his face underneath, because he had not really known that she was wearing only a tiny piece under her trousers. His punishment was that all the ladies of the student council stayed in their underwear to get him accustomed to seeing such things every day, so he wouldn't have any strange reactions. Kasuga was a little upset with Izumi for what he had done, but she said that if he seemed to regret his actions, she was willing to forgive him. But just then, she walked into the student council and saw the funniest sight ever, knowing not to expect anything much from that cultured fool. If Izumi were forced to choose between Sakura and Kasuga, who do you think he would choose? Put her name in the comment section to find out if you're right in the second part of the series, and also to find out whether the school changed the anti-dating law in their school. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for similar content. As always, thanks for watching.